Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and a link in the info box below the video once it has rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. There are a couple of rules in the Hangout. Number one, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show, as sharing the show increases the live audience, of course, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Sleeping Warrior and Spurs Chemo. How are you both doing, gentlemen?
Good morning.
How's it going?
I think Spurs has just fell out of bed.
Is that so?
Yeah, I think so. Spurs has just fell out of bed.
No, well, the right side.
Are you going to mute your watch page or what?
Didn't I? Yeah.
I'm going to play a little sound clip. Here you go.
I fell out the right side of bed. And I fell out the side to a video with, I don't know if it's an old one, but Mr. Thrive and Survive. He's got a video about the size of the moon.
Yeah, 40 miles.
Or was it 70, 40? I don't know. Both very short, yes?
Pardon?
Yeah, have you seen that? Have you seen it? I'm just trying to find it now.
Yeah, I started to watch it, but it was based on the shadow size.
And what do you make of it? Agree, disagree?
To be honest, I didn't watch all of it because it went on for a bit, because it was quite a long video, that one, and it lacked conciseness for me to keep my attention for it. I agree with the principle that the moon's not 240,000 miles away. I think that they've got the scale right. I don't think that they've got the numbers in the scale right at all.
Well, you say that. I mean, I was discussing with the opposition, the borders, last night, and they seem to think that they can bounce something off the moon, therefore measure the distance, the speed, sorry, not the distance, the speed that it took to get there, and then they can tell you how far the moon is away. Yes.
Yeah, well, hang on. What is it that they think that they can bounce off the moon? Is it a radar or?
Well, this is the thing. You see, this is the thing. I was saying, well, what do you mean? I had to try to go into detail. What do you mean you can bounce something off the moon? And they were saying, well, yeah, we can fire radar at the moon, and it reflects back to somewhere. But they were being very vague, because I was saying, well, we don't know what the moon is, what shape it is, and then Lewis this morning.
The problem with that, of course, is that the Earth's orbiting the sun at a rate of X amount per miles an hour, and the distance to the sun we are told is 93 million miles. So we can calculate how fast the Earth is orbiting the sun on its circumference or its orbit. But the moon is orbiting us as we go around the sun. So if you calculate the distances and the times and the speeds involved here, what you get then is the time it takes for the signal to leave the Earth, right? By the time it bounces off the retroreflector or the moon itself, whichever they're going to go for at the time, and then come back to the Earth, the Earth has moved in its position huge, and the radio wave or the signal that they're trying to intercept.
Well, I did try to raise that point, but they jumped on the whole thing, so it didn't get anywhere, because like we were deciding, well, what is the shape of the moon? Is it a ball? Is it concave? And like you've just said, the moon is constantly moving. So as soon as something hits that, you're going to have the direction is not going to be, you're not going to be able to control the direction, I don't think, too much. But it just throws into question the shape of the moon, if they can actually do that, if they can actually bounce something off the moon, then is it a ball like they tell us? And then I suggested that, well, we see this one face of the moon, we see one face of the sun, and we see one face of the Earth. That just seems to be the way it is.
Yep. Well, the way I understand it is that the signal bouncing off the moon thing is impossible, because by the time the signal is sent, if it hits a retroreflector, apparently it bounces it straight back at the same angle that it was received at. But if by the time it gets back to us, the Earth's moved relative to its orbit in the sun, and therefore the signal is lost. So that's the first issue. And the second issue, of course, is everything that they fire out has got to be powerful enough. What is the thing that's emitting the power that sends it far enough to get to that distance and bounce back again? Because we know that, like, radio waves are subject to the inverse square law. You need huge power to be able to create a signal powerful enough to travel that distance. And I'd like to see what that is, because it needs to be huge. And I don't think they've got anything that's powerful enough to travel that distance. This is why I think that the Voyager 1 and 2 missions they claim are now in the outer regions of our solar system and going into whatever they call that region that goes into, like, the depths of space. They claim that they still send signals back to Earth with like noise from space. I'm not buying that, because although it's plutonium powered, they say that plutonium's only got a finite ability to create power to send a signal back. Oh, but there's no friction in space, Riley. Well, it's still a huge distance, and it's still subject to the inverse square law, like light is, which is why the stars can't be that far away. So for me, all this communication with the idea.
One of their main points is that well, I don't know. Are you suggesting that the moon is a lot closer, right?
Yeah, of course it is.
Okay, so their argument is that, well, if it's so close, why is it that when we bounce something off the moon, it returns in the time that's supposed to be 250 something thousand, whatever they say it is? Yes. So that's their argument, is that we hit the moon, the signal comes back within this time. The moon can't be that close, because if it was, we would get the signal at a either quicker or slower rate.
Well, let me break that down for you, Spurs. When you say we hit the moon, no, somebody in a building presses a key on a keyboard, then waits, then they get a screen telling them what's happened. And this was the place that Brian Cox went to see the proof we went to the moon, because they can bounce stuff off reflectors, as Anthony alluded to earlier. But what they're getting back is a couple of particles, a couple of photons, or whatever they describe light as in that instance. But they're bombarding the moon with it and then saying that they get a couple of photons back. But in terms of what you actually see, you see a woman sat in front of a computer screen pressing a button on a keyboard, and then the screen telling her what's happened. Well, I wouldn't say that was particularly tricky to fake.
No, I said it. I said the same similar type of thing. I said, how do you know for sure that it's actually hitting the moon? How are you measuring it? He was quite stuck with actually the answer. I think Lewis and Kerr had to jump in and deflect. But just the whole idea that they can hit the moon, if it's real, then I think the moon has to be a different shape, or I don't think that it's possible because of the shape and the movements. So I don't know. You'd have to have a baller in here to explain. I think Jared he deals with that type of technology. I'm not saying that it hits the moon, but he says that yes, it's very possible. It's all possible, and he can explain it on the Bohr side a lot better. Because I think we're just saying, oh, you can, you can't, you can, you can't. But I think they would say, well, you don't get what technology we have, so we must be missing something. Because I've never heard of it, but I've never seen what they actually use.
Well, I'm happy to agree that they do bounce things off the moon, but that proves that the moon's close, because it doesn't. Just because, let's say that it is a fact that they can bounce something off the moon and receive a response from the moon. That doesn't prove that the moon is where they say it is. It just proves that the moon is tangible in some way and it is close, right? It doesn't prove that it's 240,000 miles away, but whatever it is, the moon, bouncing a signal off it only proves, in my opinion, that it's in close proximity to Earth. Because radio waves or whatever pulse signal they're sending out can only go so far. It's finite.
I mean, we have a different understanding of the moon. We think the moon emits its own light. We think probably the moon is possibly translucent or transparent. People say that they can see stars through the moon in the daytime or something like this. So the whole idea of them telling us that we know what the moon is, this is what I was saying, is presupposing they know the shape of the Earth, they know the distance, and they know what the moon is. They went crazy. Oh, we know what the moon is. Of course we know what the moon is. But we clearly don't, right?
Do you think the moon's a sphere, Spurs?
Do I think it's a sphere? But that's what I'm saying. No, when I put it out, I said, look, we only see one side of the moon and the sun. Yeah. So, but then, like I said, then Lewis posted a picture. He said we see 60% of the moon or something, or 55%.
Yeah,
or
libration.
Hmm.
Libration would be their proof that it's spherical. However, somebody showed me something yesterday that, not yesterday, it wasn't even a couple of weeks ago, but a while back, that just blew my mind because they postulated that the moon could be a completely different shape. And I was like, nah, libration, it's spherical as far as I'm concerned. I've looked at it enough through my telescope. It does do that. And they went, well, what about this then? And they modelled it in a completely different way. I'm not going to detail this because they may not want to, they were just speculating. But I was showing it modelled in a completely different way. And it blew my mind. I was like, I can't believe I'm going to have to concede that there is a possibility it's not spherical. But yeah, it certainly seems to be the case that you can model it in different ways. And it also, you mentioned about seeing stars through the moon. I doubt for 1 second that through the, let's put it in quotes, solid bit, you could ever see stars through it. It's not, I don't think it's translucent or transparent enough for that to happen if it is at all transparent. That again was put to me and shown and demonstrated, and I was again quite blown away by that. But it could be translucent. Anyway, that aside, I think it is quite possible, based on the way it was modelled not being a sphere, that the backside of it could actually be something slightly different. Hi Mark, how you doing?
Hello folks, how are you?
Wow, loud, you're loud.
So we're talking about the moon today.
It certainly seems that way. Don't know how we're on this subject, but we are. Thrive and survive. That's why. Thrive and survive.
Right, okay. Sometimes I get embarrassed about flat earthers talking about the moon because they come out with such crazy ideas that it just makes us all look stupid.
What's your view on the moon then?
I believe that it's a sphere. Definitely a sphere. It's not a disc. And here's my proof, my personal proof. The marks on the moon from meteors, they're all circular. Now the ones towards the middle of the moon are circular, but the ones on the edges of the moon are elliptical, which is what happens with circles. If you look at them directly, it's a circle, but move it to one side and it becomes an ellipse. So that's proof to me that it's spherical. Do you follow my reasoning there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when people say that it's a disc, I cringe at that. I don't want to be associated with it.
I'm simply saying we don't know what it is. I mean, look, people take shots of the moon in the daytime, and the question is, like, these patches here, they seem to be the color of whatever's behind it. So at night they're black, and the day they're blue.
Can I come back to you on that? Mountains look blue in the distance as well.
Sorry?
Mountains look blue in the distance here on Earth.
Yeah, but at night, what do they look? How do they look at night time?
Hi Owen, how are you doing?
Hey, hello Nathan.
Just
Wait,
about to
I'm
start
the
a new
first one
hangout.
here.
I am aware that everyone else has just been kicked out, so I will start a new link in a minute, but if you want the floor for a bit, I'm just giving my kids some attention.
Huh. So already got a sniper round.
Yeah, unfortunately.
That was quick.
I say it makes no odds. I'll start a new hangout in a moment.
Ah, it's really nice weather out here. Nice and blue sky. No chemtrails yet. They'll probably come a bit later. Birds are chirping all around. Yeah, it's nice.
Okay. Okay. Who's going to start a new hangout? Right, I'll stick the link in one of the Skype feeds, Arwin. So I'm going to dump you for a minute.
Oh,
Arwin.
Peace with a holy gown and all of us wearing our holy crowns. Said the earth is flat and we probably just won't get along. Just to go along, I said, welcome to the show, where you don't know if it's part of the show. Welcome to the show. If you don't know, you don't know.
hello.
Hello. Got Arwin and is it Sleeping Warrior?
Yeah. Sorry,
you-
mate. I didn't realise. I didn't even
it's
realise
alright.
that the thing was public.
Can you share the link? Was it John that was on a second ago?
Mark.
Mark, sorry.
Was that Mark? That was it.
Yeah, just give
No, it was Fireball.
Good, but I'll leave the link. The link won't go public for another 5 or 10 minutes now. So, you know, if you want to share it with Mark, because you're having a reasonable conversation with him. He was echoing... Mark Doxer, yeah. He was echoing some of my sentiments while I was slightly preoccupied. But yeah, up until, like I say, a couple of weeks ago, when people used to say the moon isn't spherical, I used to cringe too. It really made my skin crawl. Because it seems obvious that it's a sphere. But like I say, once it was shown that it could possibly be something different, you kind of have to go, yeah, it could be. I even stutter now just saying it. I can't even bring myself to say it because it is difficult for me to say because it's a long-held preconceived notion that it's a sphere. And like Mark, it is cringeworthy when anyone says anything different. But if someone can actually demonstrate it to you and model it and show how and why, you go, it's certainly a possibility. Which I'm now not quite happy to admit, but certainly will admit. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be a sphere.
Well, I mean, it's always been odd for me that you only see one side, and they've never seen the other side of the moon. And if that was something that could be shown, they would have shown it. It would have been possible. And the same with the sun. I thought the sun rotated like a basketball, where you saw all sides. Little did I know it rotates like a clock, and you only see the one side of the sun. And you've got to take into account the distance of these things, the atmosphere. You're not going to get, especially with an object that we don't even know what it's made of, we're not going to know exactly the dimensions, or I should say, like the shape. We're going to have like an idea. We can see it looks like a circle, it looks like a ball, but there's no back to that ball. So if there's no back, it can only be some type of disc, concave disc thing. But I was going back to the seeing the stars through. Sly was saying he would like to see that. So that's what I was in the middle of doing. I was in the middle of screen sharing the stars being shown. through the moon. So obviously he's thinking of a nighttime moon where it's lit up. So of course you won't see it then. But if you get a daytime moon, oh well, I think there's even one with a nighttime moon. Let's have a look here. Clear evidence of stars through. See, some people think it's a hologram, projection.
Well, yeah, I subscribe that.
Are you going to share some at Spurs?
Yeah, I'm just looking at. I'm just looking for a video. You carry on. I'm just looking for stars through the moon, so I can show a slide there.
Well, while you're looking for that, Nath, if we're not on a public link at the minute, will you share that Chris Hatfield can of Coke thing? Let's discuss that for a minute. You heard the disappointment in his voice.
I'm wondering right now, like, stars through the moon may be a bit difficult to actually get to see, because sometimes when there's like the dark side of, or the darkened side of the moon, you can actually see almost like it is a dark part of a disk somehow. But on the other hand, in the morning, Venus tends to light up pretty brightly, and if the timing was right, when the moon would be basically, or when the sun would be catching up on the moon and the moon could still be visible, then perhaps Venus could be very, very visible through the dark side of the moon in the extremely early morning, if it just happened to cross paths. What do you think about that?
I think that Venus should never change its luminosity at any point, because the fact that it does change its luminosity and it appears to be a lot brighter could be argued that it's down to the darkness of the sky relative to us at the time. But to me, it shows that there's a close proximity of Venus to us, because it should never change its luminosity. That fact in itself is an issue for me.
It is a bigger mystery, and it definitely does. Its brightness does seem to correlate with the sun itself.
Matt Doxey, there's a link in the thingy for you if you want to rejoin.
Okay, carbonated beverage. Tell me when you're ready.
We're ready.
Hey, cola carbonated beverage here at 2.5 atmospheres, somewhere deep below the sea. This you should never try at home, shaking up your Coke, because you know what's bound to happen when you take your Coke and you open it up and it sprays all over the room. Didn't happen. Look at that. That's physics in motion right there. Archimedes' principle or Boyle's law or something like that.
Yeah. Ohm's law, Pythagoras.
Ah, got a nice little fizz to it.
A squared plus B squared.
Right, so this guy, we've all seen him before, Chris Hatfield, the astronaut. He's basically supposed to be on a submarine at the bottom of the ocean, different pressure, and he opens a tin of can after shaking it up, and obviously you can see what doesn't happen. And the claim is that that's because of the different pressure, right, in the ocean. But here's the problem with that. If you're on the surface of the Earth with 14 psi of pressure pounding down on you, and you're at the in the submarine at the bottom of the ocean with an equilibrium state up to comparable to Earth at 14 psi, doesn't matter whether you're at the bottom of the ocean or not. You're in a receptacle that's like isolated from that pressure. There's an equal and opposite pressure pushing against it to match 14 psi. So relative to your normal state of equilibrium, you are isolated from the depths of the pressures and the depths of the ocean. So it wouldn't make any difference. And I think for me, unless there's a really good explanation for why this is meant to be actually true, this is them taking the piss. This is these guys literally laughing at the ballers that'll believe anything and everything.
Huh.
And
hey, Riley, I wonder if they actually, this is kind of maybe a bit far-fetched, but maybe they're actually using their CGI technology and they're using a fake Coke can.
Well, I mean,
ever thought about that?
Yeah, I mean, let's look at.
It's really easy to fake that.
I was going to say that's another issue. How fakeable is that experiment there to persuade?
Very easy. You just have to have the for opening it, and the rest it's very basic shape.
Yeah, you could fake that. You could fake that really quite easily. Put a small hole in the can somewhere where you can't detect it that easily, shake it up a few times, let
Not
the
a
gas
whole-
escape.
No, just a CGI can. Remember?
But look at the
Live
environment he's in
CGI
as well.
can.
It's supposed to be a submarine. I mean, it looks just like a canteen in a workplace. It doesn't necessarily prove he's in a submarine. That's the other thing.
Nah. No, but what I'm saying is it wouldn't even matter. They could just use their CGI live technology, remember? Like live projections in the frame. Just project a can in his hand and do that.
Yeah.
Just the fool.
And it could also just simply be green screen in the background as well. He's actually sat in front of a green screen that makes it look like he's in a submarine. And it's not beyond the realms of the imagination to think that could just be fake to make people think that he's at the bottom of the ocean.
Well, the
Didn't
thing is,
prove-
he could be there. It wouldn't matter. Like projecting a basic can over the film would be a very basic thing to do.
Yeah, but let's
They
do
could do it
what they
anywhere.
do to us. Why hasn't he done a 360-degree pan round showing where he is? Why hasn't he proved his location? Where's his GPS coordinates? Where's his elevation? I mean, we can critique that the same way they critique us. And if we produce that as proof that we can see Isle of Man, for example, or whatever, then they would never accept that because we haven't done enough to show that it's a real piece of footage.
Okay.
He's an astronaut. He's an authority, man.
Yeah,
White
we just
coat,
have to
white
trust
coat.
what he says. I'm starving. I'm going to have some Globies for breakfast.
Can I have some Globies?
Yeah, Globies with a bit of Globies blood to wash it down with afterwards.
Good job you said. I almost forgot to put the link out.
You know, I mean, if the moon is not a ball, then that kind of disrupts, you know, the whole moon landing thing. A lot of people, you know, so a lot of people won't want to accept that. Yeah.
It's kind of
It's
obvious.
important that it is a ball. It has to be a ball for the model to work. A disc moon doesn't work. A disc Earth doesn't work, and a disc sun doesn't work. So
Why not?
a lot of these things, it's all part of the peer pressured indoctrination. It is. You're an idiot, you're a moron. Of course it is. It has to be. It fits. It works. That's the narrative that they bring. Everything has to fit. The numbers have to work out. Otherwise, their model doesn't work. I was speaking about predictions with a couple of these guys last night, and their idea of a prediction is that they can tell us what the weather will be like tomorrow, or the path of a comet, or what else did they say? What can it predict? What
Hey,
can
Hellboy. Here
Oh, we have a new Hellboy. Hello, Hellboy.
Hello.
Hey.
So the whole point is with.
Sorry.
I think a lot of people get confused with this whole prediction. There isn't anything that we can be told unless you observe it. So you observe it, you follow the path of the moon, you follow the path of the sun, and you will know where it's going to go next. Nothing mystical or new or fantastic. The way that they're kind of going about it is like a shamanistic kind of thing, where they say, "Oh, look, we've looked to the heavens and we can tell you where the moon will be or the sun will be." But the predictions like weather, climate control, the scientists get wrong constantly. They can't predict earthquakes, they can't predict natural things that will happen if it hasn't been observed already.
We can predict some things, but usually only in response to other types of
Vitaly,
events that
Gregor.
had already happened.
Hello,
Speak.
Vitaly.
Vitaly.
Can you say hello?
Hello, Vitaly. Привет. Oh,
No, you've got to say hello if you come in.
If you are going to join, make sure you speak up straight away so that we know that you're not going to snipe everybody, because although it is an open hangout,
Fireball.
yeah, he needs to go.
Oh God.
Taking
Have I
off the
just-
panel with him. Ah,
Did
I
he
don't
manage
know.
to do that then?
yeah, within a split second. Slick. Doesn't matter. I'll just start another one.
Quick.
Take 3.
That's nonsense. Can we get Mark back in on Skype?
Look, if this one fails the third time, then if we get sniped the third time, then yeah, fine. I'll bring you in on Skype.
Peace with a holy gown and all of us wearing our holy crowns. Said the earth is flat and we probably just won't get along. Just to go along, I said, welcome to the show, where you don't know if it's part of the show. Welcome to the show. If you don't know, you don't know.
Okay, so the public link will be out in about 10 or 15, maybe even 20 minutes this time. Seems crazy that you'd snipe knowing that it just delays the amount of time I'll actually put out the link in. But there we go. Check your Skype and you will have an invite in there, hopefully. Hey, Arwen.
Hello. Oh. So everybody got kicked again?
Yeah, basically. Hello, Sleeping Warrior. Can you send Mark the link again?
That he was really quick then. Right, so are we back on now? We are.
We are.
So what's
on? Yeah. Did you want to share something?
Me.
Apparently, according to Ranty, I hope I don't screw up your name, Vitaly Gregor asserts he is a Russian, I think the word's cosmonaut, but astronaut.
A Russian cosmonaut. Yeah, that's just like M. Scott Veach claiming to be the son of an astronaut. Kind of don't believe that. I think he's just paid to be.
What? I don't disbelieve that his dad claimed to be an astronaut.
I'm not sure that M. Scott Veach actually does have a dad that's an astronaut. Maybe that's the story, but I don't necessarily think it's true. I haven't seen any evidence to see that it is true. Maybe it is true, but.
Oh, well, when we spoke to him, I don't dispute his... Well, yeah, the same thing applies, but I was going to say I don't dispute his sincerity when he detailed, his dad telling him stories about going to space.
But what about the rest of the sincerity, though? Kind of brings into question when he starts doing the other stuff.
It's the phraseology, not the sincerity. His proof of space was that his dad told him stories about it. And then he asked if his dad was lying. Obviously, we said, yeah, of course he is.
Is Arwen back in now?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I've spoken to quite a few Freemasons and ex-Freemasons alike that have detailed how they found out about the Earth being flat when they were Freemasons. And in essence, you don't get told... I hope I get the right word. Explicitly? Is that right? Is that correct? Mm-hmm. You don't get told...
Explicitly, yeah. Implicitly is implied. Explicitly is expressly told.
No, you're not expressly told that the Earth is flat. You just get a nudge, a hint, that the Earth is flat. So the idea is that you maintain the facade even though you know the secret as opposed to, you know, being explicitly told the truth, which isn't the case. So in the case of M. Scott Veitch, his phraseology was such that, you know, well, do you know that he's being deceptive? And yeah, based on the fact that the Earth is obviously and observably flat, and we have no evidence of going to space and it's totally intangible, we will never achieve it ourselves, yeah, I'd absolutely assert that it's complete and utter hokum, complete and utter nonsense, and worse still, nonsense that has to be maintained like a character actor throughout your entire life. So you have to maintain a facade, even to your own son, which to me is fairly despicable, but that's just the way I view it.
Maybe.
Did I not? I must have forgotten to put it in one of the other links because Spurs hasn't rejoined. Yes, he's in Masturbators going, no link! Sorry, Spurs. There's your link.
And Mark Doxy's been given another a link in Skype.
We'll have a third attempt. I'll do a quick link. Hope you're enjoying the debate thus far. People in the audience, thank you very much to those who shared. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside the show while it's live, and a link in the info box below the video once it has rendered. Most importantly though, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the show using sock accounts. Please also share the show, as this increases the live audience and in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. We have approximately an hour and a half left on this live stream. I will publish the link in about 5 to 10 minutes time. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate.
Hi folks, it's Mark. I'm using my Anarchy Penguin account.
Excellent. Very handy if you're sniped.
So, Mark, is that you who was saying the moon has to be a ball sphere, yeah?
Well, yeah, that's my... because of the elliptical craters around the edges and the circular craters towards the middle of the moon tells me that's a ball. Just like if I was holding a golf ball up to my face, the little indentations are circular in the middle and elliptical on the edges.
Let me put something to you, Mark.
It doesn't really look like that. There seems to be a distinct difference between the sides and the middle part, but to me it seems rather like it's just getting blurrier towards the side instead of actually slanting
well,
at an angle.
Well, next time you're looking at the
more
moon,
like looking through a lens, and at the side it just seems to get more blurry, while in the middle it is very sharp. The contrast is much greater than on at the outer circle of it.
well, next time I'm looking at the moon, I'll consider that, but I'll ask you to do the same as well. The shape of the craters towards the edges of the moon gives me reason to believe that it's a sphere.
Okay, I'm gonna.
No, but I'm gonna
jump in there. Sorry, Arwin. I just want to get one point in. So, Mark, let me put this to you. You've got a golf ball, right? And you say because it's got the dimples and the way that they reflect the shadows on. I agree with all of that. I've seen it with my own eyes, so I know you're right. However, if I was to take that same golf ball and stick it in a press and squash it, yeah. So it's not completely spherical anymore, but it's not. You know, it still has all of the dimples, and they're all still effectively in the same similar places. And you've got a curved edge, but it's not a ball anymore. It's squashed, a bit like a Smartie. Would you say that the effect could be the same?
Yes, I do. I get your reasoning there. Yes.
So there's a possibility it couldn't.
Well,
be
yeah, it could be a projection on a flat surface as well.
No, I'm still talking about something physical. Physically, you've got a golf ball. Physically, you squash it.
Yeah,
And then you
yeah,
stick it up
I
and...
get your point. I'm just clarifying. I know what you're saying. That it could still be as flat if it was crushed or flattened.
So
Okay.
physical.
So,
What do you guys think about the Crow 777 footage, though? He has some very detailed,
The lunar wave.
fine. Yeah, no, but not just the lunar wave, but just his footage.
I
He
think the
has
lunar
such super sharp close-up footage. It gives you a lot to look at, and just watching the edge of the moon, the outer circle. It doesn't seem to be all that perfectly circular, even.
Personally, I think the lunar wave footage from Crow 777 is strong evidence that it is a projection of some kind, because you would expect to see that on a projection.
Could be, or
I
maybe
don't-
that was trickery. But just even taking that aspect out of it, just the moon itself, how it looks, it has typical optical effects in its presence, like the sharpness of the center in relation to the slightly more blurred things at the outer edges, and it almost sometimes looks like it has like a bit of a mirage type of edge, where it's just getting blurry and jittery. How do you say?
It adds to the fact that when you look at the moon on a full moon, you can see that half of the moon seems to be blurred and the other half seems to be sharp.
Yes.
So that's interesting because it should all be the same like focal point, and that tells me that something else is going on, because the moon isn't sharp all the way across it. It's sharp in one half of it, but fuzzy and smooth and soft in the other. And that lends weight to the lunar wave that Thingy showed, Crow 777. I think it's a really interesting observation that you wouldn't know about unless you showed it. But showing a ripple that goes up the moon is interesting. The only way you can interpret that really is if it is the moon that's doing what it's doing, it is some kind of projection. Maybe.
Well, yeah, the whole ripple thing does kind of suggest like it is a digital hologram type thing. I think that is taking it a bit too far. I think it's rather just an optical effect. That's like a natural projection and not a digital type projection. Although, yeah, the whole ripple thing does
It's
remind you of
projection
that.
would mean you need a projector, and I don't think it's been projected from somewhere else. I think it's actually there.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. But all I'm saying is that I can't see a logical explanation for the lunar wave other than some kind of consistency with the projection.
Well, how about if you would record the Earth from the opposite? I think you would get that wave the same thing as on the Earth. You would get, but and that's probably another reason why they don't show it. And if the moon is being lit up by the sun, then obviously the daytime moon would be brighter and stronger. But that doesn't happen. So that should tell you again that the moon is light in itself.
Yeah, and there's so many aspects surrounding that, moonlight being cold and all, and just the whole cycle, how it looks. It doesn't make any sense in that aspect alone, but just in the holographic approach of it and how it looks by its texture, that gives hint that it is holographic in nature. And when I say holographic, I don't mean like being a projected like a 3D hologram, but rather that it is somehow a reflection type effect
Well,
that
for
makes
example, if you were to
it
land
appear in its location.
if you were to land on it, are you saying you would go?
Sorry?
Would you go through the moon if it's?
But you can't. I don't think that's possible. In my concept of the holographic globe of the heavens, of which the moon is a part, you can't approach it because it would just evade you. It stays at the edge of your vision, so no matter how you try to approach it, it would just evade, would just bend off towards a distance somewhere else. so you can't really approach it. You can chase it forever. If you want.
I hear what you're saying, but that would say that it's next to the stars. That's the idea with the stars. You'd get
Well, the stars seem to go away pretty much when you go high up, but all the other things, they tend to evade. So the sun.
You know the path of the moon, are we?
Yeah, but that path seems to be an arc in a specific pattern in relation to the observer and the location on the Earth. But yeah, it doesn't seem to even be a literal position in that sense. It's just apparent. It is all holographic, I think. It just appears in relation to the observer at a specific distance at the edge of vision. And if you move, then it moves with you.
Doesn't it look like things have hit the moon?
No, absolutely not. The pattern has been like this forever.
How would you explain all the creators and the dents and all the land or the roughness? How do you explain all that?
I don't know why it looks the way it does.
Because if you were
could be a reflection of the Earth or a part of the Earth, or maybe it is just a pattern that that was decided upon, that it would look like that, and they might even be able to change that, but they probably never will.
Well,
but I don't think it has craters. The pattern of it has never changed ever. That's all just tall stories.
Yeah, but it does look like something.
It's just like the stars change slightly, or that kind of nonsense. It's always the same. Always has been.
Go on, Anthony.
The moon, for me, when I look at the moon, there are times that I look at the moon and think that it's the underside of a lens. It looks like it's an object that you can land a rocket on, but I also look at it and think maybe that's an eyepiece of a microscope, and we're on the underside of the microscope, and we're being watched from the other side of the moon.
Oh, yes.
And because it looks like a lens at times.
Yes.
It looks like it's got a sheen to it. Whereas the other thing with the moon is that imagine the sun and the moon are positive and negative, and one of them is feeding the other. And we always assume that the sun is feeding the light to the moon. But perhaps the moon is the thing that charges the sun somehow magnetically or whatever. And they need each other to work. And maybe the sun is some kind of thing that is somehow connected to the moon is some kind of thing that is connected directly to the sun. But whatever the moon is, nobody's really persuaded by it.
That's the thing.
And ultimately, for me, the conclusion I come to with the moon is that this is evidence of creation, be it religious or otherwise, because it seems to defy all physics. It seems to defy logic, and it seems to certainly defy common sense, because I don't accept tidal lock-in as possible. I don't think that the moon can stay with the same side pointing us if it's supposed to be orbiting us, because that would create some kind of movement. The libration can be illustrated on a flat plane exactly the way we see it, and the libration that we can see on a flat plane makes more sense logically because we can see it actually happening. To accept the libration point on the ball Earth model, nobody can understand that because it's to do with like orbital mechanics that require the model. And I know that they say it's to do with epigee, and who cares? It's more logical to see that the libration is what we see on the flat plane because you can see how it would work. But I think it's proof of creation in some form. I think whatever the moon is, somebody's made it and put it there as two fingers to science to say, come on then, explain this. Because nobody knows what the moon is. That's the honest answer. Yet science is supposed to know all the answers. And it's riddled with inaccuracies and riddled with confusion. So for me, it's somebody's way of sticking two fingers up at the scientists and saying, come on then, explain this. And obviously nobody can. That's what I think the moon is, creation of some kind.
I saw a good YouTube video last night on the moon, or the alleged moon landing. The place where they landed was on the Earth-facing side. And so when they were to look at the Earth, if they could have done, they would actually have to look upwards, not on the horizon. So the picture of the Earth coming up over the horizon of the moon, we know it's fake anyway, but it was impossible because the Earth would have been above their heads. They would be looking upwards. Like 12 o'clock here on Earth, we look up at the
But how do you know that?
How do I know what?
But you'd have to be looking up, because I'm sure Jem Panda, who's researched the moon landings a lot, would have something completely different to say.
Well, okay, they landed on the Earth-facing side of the moon.
Here we go. Here he is. He says Earthrise wasn't taken from the Lucy. That's what I'm saying. You can't just say those things, yes, because there are people who have researched. I mean, even though I don't believe it, but I mean.
So how could the Earth be on the horizon when you're on the side of the moon facing the Earth?
So he says it was taken from the lunar orbit. Yeah.
Sorry.
It was taken from the lunar orbit.
What, from the mothership?
Hold on, he's typing. But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it was taken from the LEM or LM, the lunar module, whichever one's orbiting. I always get them the wrong way around. But whichever the one they claim was going around that the lander separated from, that was what the shot was taken from, as I understood it.
All right, I didn't know that. I thought it was taken actually from the surface of the moon. No, it is taken from the surface of the moon. There's one where they're putting the flag in, isn't there? That is above them. Okay, we need to I need to work out who actually took the photograph. Was he from the mothership or from the surface of the moon?
I love that terminology.
Okay,
the mothership.
What?
The mothership. That's just great terminology.
Well, is that what it was called, wasn't it?
Sure, it's just LM. Someone will chat in the chat will say, I'm sure.
So I mean, I'm just. So you think, Mark, we can land on the moon? Something you can land on, touch, hit, bounce?
No, I don't know. I don't know. I know that the Apollo landings were all hoax.
Yeah, we know that. But in terms of, let's say, we're trying to discover what it is, do you think it's a thing that can be landed on or something like that?
I don't know. It would have to have a gravity, and we know that gravity there's a big question mark over that. I don't know. I don't believe you can stand on the moon. No.
Well, it looks to me like it's been hit, so I just think we can't get to it.
Yeah, well, there could have been a storm of meteors, a one event that left all the pop marks on the moon.
Yeah, but hang on, where would all the pop marks have come from?
From a meteor storm.
Right, and where would the meteors have come from?
No idea.
Hang on. Given that all the craters are all facing Earth directly, where do you think the meteors might have come from?
Good one. Very good. Excellent. I don't know.
Could only have come from Earth. And I don't think they're caused by meteors. I think they're caused by electromagnetism somehow. I think that there's an arc. They're caused by an arc. You know, like you look at the biggest crater on the moon, the one that's kind of like slightly middle, bottom left.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That one looks just like a welder's arc when you make a welding strike on aluminium.
Okay.
That for me is kind of like proof that these aren't actually craters. These look like they're electromagnetic consequences somehow, like lightning conduction or whatever. Not saying it is, but for me, if they were craters caused by meteorites, they're all pointing at Earth. It means that the meteorites must have come from Earth. They can't come from anywhere else because it's so close to us relative to the rest of space that, they have to have come from Earth.
Talking about meteorites, do any of us remember the Schumacher-Levy meteor that allegedly hit?
In 98?
Yeah.
I do.
I mean, I've never heard that being discussed of what it was. Was that CGI or?
Wasn't the Schumacher-Levy the one to do with Jupiter?
That's right. It hit Jupiter. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was predicted to hit, and
well, we didn't have YouTube and flat Earth back then, did we? But the Schumacher-Levy, if that happened now, that conversation would be really interesting because, I mean, what is Jupiter, right? What is meteorites? Where did they come from? Can we prove that they're really a thing?
It was the lead up to it as well, wasn't it? Mind you, we were depending on other people's opinions on what they were seeing.
Shout out to Ali B in chat.
Right, I'm going to stick the link out. Third time's a charm.
I mean, you've got Everett saying it's not a debate, but I'd be happy to debate the horizon with anybody if they believe that, like, behind that horizon, they believe in space, atmosphere. And I said that it's land, more ground. So we're not going to debate this with other flat earthers ever, because they understand the horizon already. It's people like yourself who are confused, that think the ship gone over the horizon, going down something, over, up, down, and over. So there is a baller who thinks that the horizon, behind that horizon, is space. Then I'd love to debate.
I mean, over the refraction zone.
Who's banging around?
Can I just ask a question, like off topic? We have smart meters, gas and lecky, and the guy just knocked at the door to read the meter, and I'm like, we have smart meters, you dick. And
Yes,
he's like,
I get that as well. So what the hell are you calling for then?
yeah, and he said, I need to come in and read the meter.
I think they're looking for any tampering.
The smart meters have got SIM cards in them, and that they communicate like 4 or 5 times a day with the meter reading. And I said, well, why would you want to come in when we've got smart meters? Do you understand that a smart meter communicates with them all the time? And he's like, we still got to come in and check them. Like, you're not coming in, mate. You're not coming in without a court order. Piss off. So off he went.
Well done. I think they're checking for tampering.
Hey, Ellen.
And they're just using it as an excuse. We need to check your smart
Alan,
meter.
Can you hear us?
Without a court order, he's not coming in.
Good.
Hello, Alan?
Oh, kick.
Oh, lots of things are happening.
Kick fireball.
Are we all still here?
Yes, I'm there.
I'm still here.
Fireball.
I can't be kicked.
Fireball's in here.
Yeah, he's gone.
It still looks like he's there.
Yeah.
So what's the crack then? Do we need to let these people in with it if you got a smart meter or not?
No, you shouldn't have a smart meter in the first place.
Sorry, do you have to let them in if you have a smart meter? You don't need that little qualifier at the end. Do you have to let anybody in ever? No.
Correct.
I told him to go and get a court order and come back. He didn't like that, but he thanked me politely and off.
Why do you answer your door? Just don't answer your door.
I thought it was a delivery guy. I thought somebody might be sending me gifts.
Close the door after you realise it isn't. It's easy. The conversation ends really quickly.
Well, it does when the door gets shut, doesn't it?
Yeah, we had something similar. My wife said, I got home from wherever, and she said, somebody came round asking to look around our flat. And I was like, why? And they said they were from the TV licensing. I was like, well, that doesn't mean I'm going to let them in. We don't have a TV. And she said, yeah, I explained that to her, but they said that lots of people claim they haven't got a TV. I was like, I don't give a crap what other people claim. You know, I haven't got a TV. I don't pay TV license because I don't watch TV. That's why I don't pay it. But they still feel the right to come round. It's like, sod off. How dare you?
People interfering with your lives that they've got no business to do.
Well, I mean, even if, you know, there are dodgy people out there, I've done all the things that they, you know, are read up on what you're supposed to do. When I got rid of my Skybox, the tuner, I looked up what I should do to get rid of the TV license. I said, get in touch with them and explain when you've got rid of TV, and that's it. End of story. They explain on the phone that you're not supposed to watch BBC programming online. And you go, yeah, I don't anyway. I don't care. Fine, no problem. Absolutely no problem. Then they cancelled. They even gave me a small refund because I called up after getting rid of Sky, and they sent me a small refund. I was like, great, that's all very amicable, no problem at all. I've had absolutely no desire to watch TV since, and haven't. And then someone comes round to your house saying, I want to have a look around. Go screw yourself. Click, bye-bye.
Yeah, that's my view. It's like, you're not coming in. We've got a court order, you prick. Am I still here?
Yeah, we're all here.
I think so. Is nobody decent going to join? No, just people joining to snipe us.
Okay.
I think Chris MCM's been okay recently. He's been trying to beg for forgiveness, and I think that Nathan should be a bit more. What's the word? Forgiving.
Merciful.
Yeah, merciful.
All right. Never mind, eh?
We're all a bit dry today. What about talking about the Bible? The Bible is a geocentric book.
Yeah, I can do something with that. One of my favorite content creators is doing a video at the moment, and the question, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil it, but essentially the question is about whether or not God exists, but from the flat Earth perspective.
Yeah.
Prior to this going live, I had a conversation with him, and the question was...
Don't go. Give us the question.
Peace with a holy gown and all of us wearing our holy crowns. Said the earth is flat and we probably just won't get along. Just to go along, I said, welcome to the show, where you don't know if it's part of the show. Welcome to the show. If you don't know, you don't know.
Hello. Hello.
Who was it that sniped? Because I saw the two people that joined were removed.
I thought I got them quick enough. It's just clear they don't want this particular hangout to be available to the public. Fine for today. That's fine.
Yeah, Alan B says that
It's just a bit of mischief.
You should just really get on Skype. If you really wants to get on the show, then get on Skype or make a Skype account and just come in. If you don't want to get sniped, and it seems that the Globers don't want you on here, then just get on Skype.
Who are you talking about, or who are you talking to?
Alan B.
Oh, he's an idiot. Don't bother with it.
No, don't be like that.
Alan B won't be coming in. He's an idiot.
Why?
I don't know why he's an idiot. Ask him.
No, but why are you acting like this? He's basically just a
Because
Glober.
he's here to ridicule us, Arwin. He's got nothing credible to add. He's got no conversation in him. He's just got a squeaky voice through a voice changer. And
Yeah, but
claims
he
to be
does have some questions sometimes. You don't
tough.
have to
He's
be
an
all
idiot.
rude about it.
He's an idiot.
You don't have to be so rude about it.
Yeah, I do.
Worse idiots out there.
Yeah, there are. But he's definitely one of them. Where were we? Oh, yeah. About God.
Yeah,
I don't know what everyone's view on God is. And I say God in the, not necessarily in the Christian context. I mean it in the context where it pervades all religions. But most religions believe in some form of God, be it Allah or be it some sun worshipping God or moon worshipping God or whatever. Most of them have a quote God. And the discussion was, does there need to be a religion in flat Earth? And it was interesting because for me, it needs to be empirical based. It can't be based on beliefs, right? and I want to see stuff. If there's a button there and someone tells me there's a red button, I want to see a red button. I want to see that there is actually a red button. I don't want to just accept and believe that there's a red button because someone's told me it's there. So it's like, well, does religion have a place in flat Earth? Any religion? And I'm not sure it does for me. I'm not saying that I'm not religious. I'm not saying that I am. I'm just saying that flat Earth as a topic isn't based in religion in any way. It's to do purely with empirical science, in my opinion. Religion, be it God or otherwise, really has no place. Arwin, what do you think about that?
Well, I think that the nature of what the Earth seems to be does point at a creator, at a designer at least. So I definitely think that religion is inevitable to be part of it. It's just what religion is so far seems to be more of a control mechanism that just incorporates that concept and adds on a giant control mechanism to shutter the minds or redirect the minds of the people that follow it. But I definitely do believe there is a creator because it all points at being designed somehow.
It has to be. It has to be some kind of creation because all these things. I mean, look, when you have the evolution discussion with anybody, they always say, "Well, we always come from apes." It's like, right, chromosome-wise, that's not true. There isn't the same number of pairs. But even after you get past the chromosome DNA argument, you have to start saying, well, where did the DNA come from? Because even if the DNA was just floating around, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of strands of the DNA that have to fuse together to create strands. And the strands, you need loads of them. They're all fused together to create DNA structures. And the structures have got to be then created in some way that's not to do with God, but to do with some kind of biology, some kind of like randomness. And the further down the line you get with this discussion about where DNA comes from, the more remote and ridiculous it sounds, yet they're still pushing it as truth. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. It's nonsense. But these old people accept it. These people just think it's acceptable and it's logical, therefore it's true. And I'm like, that doesn't make it probable. The probability that DNA does or is created the way they tell us, it's virtually zero, but they accept it because it's possible. And I'm like, you guys are morons. The only explanation for where DNA comes from is, yeah, it may well be the building blocks of life, but you still need a builder to put the blocks up, to build something with the blocks. They don't just happen by fluke, by chance. It's nonsense.
Well, unless the very nature of matter and the entire pattern of the whole thing would automatically build things as they seem to be designed, so that it is inevitable to be formed in this way. But how that process would work would still point at some kind of a design.
Yeah, but something's got to build.
Pre-design.
So something has to build. If you've got all these DNA scattered around like bricks, somebody's got to put it together to make it into a house, right? It doesn't naturally happen by fluke. It doesn't happen with an explosion. It doesn't happen with anything.
Definitely not. Well, the origin or the Big Bang theory, that is definitely not the way it could work. Like out of chaos doesn't that wouldn't apply, but could very well be that somehow through a process that has eluded us so far, or is just very difficult to find out, that it might all form out of itself in a process that we can't fathom.
We certainly can't fathom it. Nobody's got the answer.
So how many people in Flat Earth are basically like Christians in some kind of... I mean, is Flat Earth a Christian-based movement? For me, it's not. I mean, there may be people in it that are Christians, and I'm not saying that they should or shouldn't be. They're right, their choice to believe if they want to believe. But is it a Christian-based movement? Is it anything to do with God? Is it some kind of religious thing? Or is it people that just don't believe we live on a ball the way it appears? And for me, I just don't believe we live on a ball. Regardless of whether it's creation by God or otherwise, we don't live on a ball. It could be anything that created it, but it wasn't an explosion, and it couldn't have been created without some divine intervention of some kind. We started from something. I mean, that's even assuming that the planet was created. Let's forget about the planet being created or exploded or whatever. how did the humans get onto the planet? I mean, again, you have to have the discussion about DNA and stuff, and it becomes farcical, illogical, and so remote that in terms of likelihood that it's true, you literally have to laugh at it.
Well, the thing is, it seems very unlikely that something larger would come into being from something that is smaller. But the other way around does have some viability. For example, things, in the more obscure sector of the medical alternative world, there have been indications that things like bacteria can basically come into existence within flesh beings. They can literally manifest out of seemingly nothing. And in that sense, you could approach it with a microcosmos element. And while this feeds back to the giant theory that maybe the entire world originally was one giant being, and that it then died off and reformed into smaller beings, and those died off and reformed into even smaller beings, and that is how we came to be in the form that we are. It's a different approach. It does feel more viable to me, but still very mysterious how that would work. But we could have come from something much bigger.
I look at it this way.
We manifest out of something bigger, basically.
I look at it this way. If life could be created by science, they'd have done it. If life was potentially capable or potentially able to be created by science, they'd have declared it. Einstein, going back to the most basic principle, what was the name of that? Frankenstein. Frankenstein essentially is showing that science can't create life. But you get a mustard seed, plant it, water it, and that mustard seed starts to grow. What is it that makes the process that is planting it in with basically below the surface of the light? It's not really getting much light. Start watering it, and then it starts growing. And 25, 30 years later, you've got some kind of tree. And it's like, how is that even possible if you think about it? You have a seed, you put water on it, it grows. Look at a mustard seed. It's one of the smallest seeds out there that we know of. I mean, there may be smaller ones, but a mustard seed is generally a small seed. And it grows into a tree. How is that possible? It grows from nothing. That in itself is something that I find astonishing, because the science can explain what happens.
Is refabrication. Animals can be cloned from just a couple of cells. If you see, how do you say, a human being can come from a sperm and an egg cell. So, no, it can definitely, things can be formed out of small parts of something bigger. And that even that supports my theory that we could have come from something much bigger.
Yeah, but even
we are remnants of that really big thing. Maybe manipulated, maybe changed to a way that we cannot grow as big.
But think about the moment of inception, though, with a human sperm where it meets the egg. And they tell us that there are millions upon millions of sperms all trying to fight to get into the egg, and they all have these little explosive heads. And there's only one of them that's got the most explosive head that can penetrate through the egg and then fertilize the egg. And then from that moment of inception, 18 years later or 19 years later, you end up with an adult. And I'm like, if science really could do that, don't you think they would have done it? Yeah, they can clone stuff, but can they create something from nothing? And that's really what inception is. It's the creation of something from nothing, but it requires something that's not science-based. It's something that's special. Everyone talks about the moment of inception being a miracle. Well, how does science explain it? I mean, they talk about I know the science to it. I've heard the explanation, but nobody can reproduce it. They know what happens, but nobody can do it. And that is, for me, creation.
Yeah, but technically, maybe the Alpha, the Omega, the original God, could not even do that as well. And he just created creation from himself in the same way that we with science can replicate things or mutate things, recreate things with the building blocks that are there. Well, maybe if something is all things and knows all things, then he can create something that is less than himself from himself.
Yeah, but that requires the creation, right?
Well, it requires an all-powerful thing that is everything to basically pre-exist.
I think when you get into the nitty-gritty of the evolution argument, it fundamentally fails. Evolution fails quite early on. The only reason why the evolution argument is capable of even being there is when science changes the meaning of words, the meaning of the words like the word fact, the meaning of the word species. These are the words that they change the meaning of in science to even allow evolution to exist. If they didn't have the meaning
There
of
is
these words
still
changed,
some form of evolution, but it is microevolution. It is more a form of adaptation.
yeah, I agree with microevolution. I don't agree with macroevolution. For those that are not familiar, microevolution is the variation within the species. I accept that like dogs will vary within their own species, but there will always be a dog. There will never come a point where a dog becomes a cat or a lion or a whale or anything like that. A dog will always be a dog. It'll just be a different style of dog, but it'll still be a dog that we will distinguish as dog.
Wolf is not exactly a dog, but it is a canine. So within the line of species, there can be changes over time, adaptations, but the original form seems to persist and can't evade too much. Because if a species mutates too far, then it'll just become infertile and stop replicating.
But that's the good example is a horse with a donkey, right? A horse and a donkey can reproduce, but they produce a mule, or they can produce a mule. But a mule is unable to reproduce. Now, by science's definition of the word species, once an animal is unable to reproduce with its pool of ancestry, that becomes its own species, right? That becomes a new line of species by science. By me and you, it's a genetic mutation that's failed and it can't reproduce, therefore it's not successful reproduction. And it doesn't satisfy the meaning of the word species. But in science, it does, because it's unable to reproduce with its population. So therefore, that is a new form of species, a mule. However, it dies out practically, and that proves that evolution in itself is nonsense, because by science's own definition, the mule satisfies that definition of species. However, it's unable to reproduce. So that's not successful reproduction. That's literally borderline between playing around with science too much and interbreeding and creating basically a mong. That's not reproduction. That's not successful reproduction. That's playing around with the biology in such a way that you end up with a genetic mutation that's nonsense.
Yeah, the mechanism for evolution is mutation.
According to the macros.
Yeah, according to the textbook, the mechanism is mutation, but most mutations are either sterile or harmful.
Yeah, yes. And for evolution to be true, they have to prove macroevolution, and they can't.
Well, micro. Have you heard that conversation with them, though? They'll say that if you have so many micro ones, you eventually get a macro one.
No, that's nonsense.
Yeah, but it can't work. Like even with the system of organs, that cannot work. Like a function cannot mutate from failures into a success.
Correct. Yeah, that's right.
Like an eye could not gradually come into existence.
Oh, have you heard
its complete design?
One,
it's one of the things that it would never function. Like there would be
it's called
hundreds of species that would have misfunctioning eyes, and then suddenly it would start to work.
Where are all the failures?
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, there'll be millions of failures until you get the eye. It's called an irreducible mechanism. If you reduce a mechanism by one of its components, then it doesn't work at all. The eye or the respiratory system that we have wouldn't work at all if one of the bits were missing. So how could it get to the end through various changes to have an eye or an ear or a respiratory system within the body?
Yeah, and according to a survival mechanism on which evolution is suggested to be based, then mutations are usually the rejects. They are rejected. They do not reproduce.
No, they're harmful.
Yeah, I agree. The mutations that happen, the microevolution that does occur, if basically they have to show that it becomes macro, and they can't show it. There is no evidence anywhere at any time that lizards or newts or anything like that has ever macro evolved. It's only ever micro evolution. You have to believe, otherwise.
The suggestion that a fish could mutate into a reptile and then a reptile mutate into a mammal.
A bird. That's what. That's it. Archaeopteryx, the ancient wing, and that turned out to be a misinterpretation or even a hoax. You've got the Piltdown Man as well, and the Java Man, Nebraska Man. All these fossils that were put forward as the missing link, and they all turned out to be hoaxes.
Yeah,
even Lucy.
It's fossil, so that's not actually a genetic connection. Even it's basically just a suggestion. They're using stone objects and their shape to say, oh, look, this kind of looks like that, and that kind of looks like this, so it must be a connection.
Let's talk about Lucy. The claim is that Lucy is that halfway, the missing link connection between us and apes. Lucy was a monkey, like the DNA and the actual genetics of Lucy, what we call Lucy, was a monkey.
There's more information coming out about Lucy that it's not as clear cut as they originally announced.
No, it's fallacious. It's completely nonsense.
It is, yeah.
Lucy was claimed to be the halfway house between humans and apes. Yeah. Basically, the missing link, right? Mm-hmm. Well, let me tell you something, guys. That missing link's not missing. It just doesn't exist.
But we're preaching to the choir here, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're all of the same opinion.
But these morons do believe that evolution has got a possibility of being true, therefore it's true. And I'm like, the possibility of being true doesn't make it true.
Yeah, you said about changing the meaning of words. The word theory in the science world means that it could also be a fact.
Well, the fact is, the meaning of the word fact is an issue, but the meaning of the word theory, if you look at the meaning of the word theory, it says the collection of the best ideas considered to be true unless evidence appears to the contrary, or words to that effect. And it's like, well, we can believe anything we want then. If enough people, if there's a consensus, if we can just forge a consensus, unless there's evidence that's to the contrary, that's unobtainable, basically whatever you want to, you can believe anything you want by that definition of theory.
Well, when a detective uses the word theory about a crime, that's different to the theory that the scientist uses. The word is different. A detective will drop his theory if he can see evidence to the contrary. There is no evidence for life appearing spontaneously or for macroevolution, but it's a theory, but it's still a fact, according to the textbook.
It's a fact by science.
Yeah.
Because there's no evidence to the contrary, and it's like, right, so you're accepting stuff as fact, right, because there's no evidence to the contrary. But again, it comes back to the interpretation of the words, because they use the meaning of words in different contexts to what you and I do. Mm-hmm. It is just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous to believe that it's even possible that we evolved in macro forms from other things. Is nonsense. I mean, look at the apes argument. The great ape argument is based on the number of chromosomes pairs in humans, 23 and 24, and the fact that there's a differential between the two means that they're not the same, right? But there needs to be a point where two of the chromosomes pair, or one of the pairs, became fused together, and they show it with a diagram, and they say that at some point there was a fusion of the chromosomes together, and that created evolution. That's the proof. And I'm like, right, so you're proving it with a diagram, right?
But didn't Lucy prove that?
How it actually fuses together.
I'm sure. Sorry, Arwin. I'm sure that Lucy proved that, in the respect that, you know, they claimed she was the missing link, and it just turned out that she was a really, really, really ugly girl.
Well, okay, so we've established that we are a special creation, so then the Earth is a special creation as well.
Yeah.
The Earth has to be special creation in some way, yeah. I know it can physically form with electronic effect, like lightning storms and stuff, but fundamentally, where does that come from? And Tim Osmond, you may as well go back to sleep, dude. Go back to bed. Have a sleep in. That's why we come on this time of the day, Tim.
See, what I can't cope with is people who've discovered a flat Earth, then discover the Bible, and then from that they then have to accept, well, the crazy notion of hell. You know, you're going to be tormented forever in flames of fire for eternity. That's gone into fantasy again.
Well, it's not the same part. Like the hell idea is not even, if I'm correct, is not in the actual description of the creation.
No, it's not. It's not in the Old Testament, but it's definitely in the New Testament.
Yeah, but those it's a different sector, so it's not the same field. So even if there was this hell, then that hell was not part of the original creation. The heavens were, by the way. That's even more interesting. It was literally described to be part of creation, but hell not wasn't.
No, it's a concept. It's
In
a
the
construct
original
by
creation.
religion.
Could be.
It's,
So going to the religion side to FE, the fundamental Islamic groups, you know, these jihadi fighters and whatnot, they're the right wing side of Islam. I don't know whether the Christian Crusades, the right wing side of Christianity. These are all the
Don't
right.
call it, it's fundamentalism.
Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Fundamental.
Right wing is it's much more gradual and it shifts. What
Yeah,
is
you're
right
right,
and
you're
what is
right.
left shifts over time.
Fundamentalism is the word that I'm looking for. You're right. That begs the question for me then. Well, is there a fundamentalism to the flat Earth argument? And there absolutely is. There is a fundamentalism to the ball earthers, particularly some of them. They are fundamentalists. They are crazy, fanaticists, fantasists, crazy guys. They are crazy. Yet we're the ones that are ostracized and laughed at and ridiculed. And I'm looking at it thinking, well, just show us the proof that we live on a ball. It can't be that hard if you've got all these rockets and satellites and all that, and nothing that they can produce is credible, in my opinion. It all looks suspect. Now, at the end of the day, is it worse to be a fundamental religious person, or is it worse to be a fundamental scientist? You know, scientism, the over excessive belief in science.
Well, fundamentalist religions and people that do that follow that way of living, are more easily manipulated and controllable than somebody who is a fundamentalist truther, because that is basically what a real flat earther is. That's how we get here.
Yeah, but
we
what
go
about
into the truth movement, and then you find the final foundation.
Yeah, but I'm asking about the
center
ballers.
of the hourglass, flat Earth. So it is a form of truth fundamentalism.
I'm asking
and
about
it also it's the restart of the scientific approach, the scientific
I'm
method.
asking about the ballers specifically, not the flat earthers. Are the ballers fundamentalists?
Well, that all depends.
Yes, absolutely.
I agree.
It depends on how serious they take it. I guess that if you devoutedly believe that math can prove anything and that consensus makes reality, then yeah, you are a fundamentalist. Liar, basically.
And one of the key principal components of a fundamentalist is their ability to be aggressive and be violent, and we see that all the time. These people are fundamentalists by the normal definition of the word.
The application of circular reasoning, as we saw yesterday with
What
Ruhiv.
did you just say?
You heard.
Liverpool supporters.
They're fundamentalists as well.
Well, look at Jamie Carragher, perfect example. Liverpool got beat by Man United at the weekend. Jamie Carragher, ex-Liverpool player, on his way home from Old Trafford, Man United ground, he gets some irate Man United fans goading him and saying 2-1, 2-1. He spits at them and through the car window, right? Whilst they were driving. You know what I mean? Football is one of those things that triggers people. Flat Earth triggers people.
Yes, and religion as well.
There are people, religion triggers people. I mean, if you upset somebody's main religion that they fundamentally believe in, be it Christian or whatever, they can turn violent really pretty quickly. It's quite interesting. And the ballers are just like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of days ago, you were talking about cognitive dissonance, and somebody made the point that if you've got it, you don't even know. Well, that could be said about us as well.
No. I think most flat earthers realise that there are two sides to the story, and they can at least think about both sides. But not many ballers are capable of holding the position of that. There might be actually you need to have two positions in your mind at once. Most ballers can't actually do that because you get people like Cat Earth that don't they can't see where the horizon's meant to be on a ball. They want to see the beach. Well, to ignore the horizon is in the wrong place is the issue that he ignores. He wants to see the beach. Well, you're never going to see the beach because it'd be like a pixel. It would be tiny if you could see it at all because of angular resolution problems. But he doesn't see the bigger problem, which is, well, the horizon isn't where he tells us it is. There's no bulge in the way, dude. He deliberately goes past that. That's delusional. You're ignoring the key principle there of where the blockage is supposed to be, and it's not where it's supposed to be. But he wants to see the beach, so it's like that is a delusion in my eyes.
Well, if you're a fundamentalist believer in scientism and in something that can be disproven, then you will, as a fundamentalist, fall back into the basic mechanisms of what it rests on, and that is lies and evasion and delusion. So that's the core behavior on which the entire system rests.
See, for me, that Jamie Carragher spitting incident is just like having a conversation with a baller. Carragher would be the baller. We would be the flat earthers that go, pictures from space. And then he literally starts throwing punches. That's just like it. For me, that's the comparison. Nathan, what's going on with the Hangout links?
So again, what's going on with the Hangout link? I haven't published it. I've run out of Hangouts, so if I do publish this one, it'll be right at the end. I'm not going to go to the effort of actually creating new ones because I can't be bothered. But, you know, if people want to force us to have a circle jerk, I'm not going to feel guilty about it. It's like I've published the link, for 3 or 4 times. So, you know, I don't mind. It makes my life easy. I'm sitting here editing a photo. Very convenient.
Yeah.
No worries. Haven't got my mouse in my hand the whole time. Lovely.
Yep. And if they actually want to come in as ballers and talk, then go on Skype, because you can't snipe in Skype.
Well, I'm not going to be inviting any ballers to be on my Skype. I don't know about you.
Why not?
Right, if I send you a picture, Anthony, is there any chance you could present it?
You got P. Mars on Skype. He's a baller.
If he's not in the chat though, if he was there, he'd be asking to come in, or he'd just sent me a message on Skype already. But P. Mars is a good guy. Baller.
To be honest, P. Mars surprised me a lot. I've generally considered P. Mars to be one of the biggest trolls. He openly admits to sniping people for fun. However, when the amnesty was on, or the protest, or whatever you want to call it, he came in against all the odds and basically sat there laughing at them. And I thought I had to give him kudos for that, because I really did not expect, of all people, P. Mars to do that.
No, but I think P. Mars is a good guy. He's a conspiracy theorist, a truther that just can't let go of that ball, and that's it. And he would even say it like that if he's calm enough. So, but yeah, he's like almost there, but he just doesn't want to go that final step. Maybe he has very good personal reasons to not go there.
But equally, though,
but he's almost
there.
there.
In the same context, in the same sentence, I heard P. Mars saying the other day, I haven't seen anybody produce credible evidence that the moon landings were faked. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that was weird, because the other day he said the opposite.
Yeah,
that was kind of weird. So maybe he has like just moments of fallback, or
well, I don't know what role he plays, but ultimately he's definitely in the troll camp, because you can't say you've never seen anybody produce any credible evidence against the moon landings when there is an absolute shed load of evidence out there that people. I mean, look at Jeremy, for instance, right? He did a video, and he never got loads of hassle for it, right, about the Apollo moon landings, and I credited him for it because it was a decent video. He believes it. Who cares what he believes? I don't agree with him. Does that mean that I'm going to hate him for it? Not really. I think he honestly believes that we went to the moon. Well, that's his prerogative. He can believe that, and I don't have a problem with that. He has a problem with me, though, believing the Earth's not a ball.
They're getting so aggressive, the trolls. They're now literally like Stasi trying to tell me to shut up. It's like...
Just to change the subject slightly, I've sent you a couple of pictures on Skype, Anthony. Is there any chance you can show the second one I sent you first, if that makes sense?
Sorry, Nate. Say that again. I was just on phone.
No worries. In Skype, I've sent you 2 pictures. If you could can you just bring up the second picture? The most recent to be
present
sent.
it all.
Yeah, present it.
While
While you're doing that, I'll explain to the audience what I'm about to do and why I'm about to do it. So a week ago, Ranty presented some footage that he took through, I think it's called South Pier. So he's standing on the beach looking through a pier, and what he can see is, I'll present it in a second once Anthony gets it up.
I'm trying to find where I put it. There it is.
There's this. That's the one on the beach. Here we go. So if you can just zoom in a little bit, Anthony, so make it bigger. Keep going, 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 keep going.
Max.
Perfect. So this is where Ranty's taken the picture from, obviously. He's just zoomed out for this, and then he zooms in and takes a picture of wind farms and various other things. Now, as I say, he has already presented this, which is why I'm happy to do this without him here, and he's given me permission to do so. But if I can get Anthony to now bring up the second picture.
The one that was in Skype?
Yeah, the one that I bought at, the one that I sent you before that one. And if you can zoom it right in, perfect. So this is the picture that Ranty took Issa and I think it was was it Ali B?
I think it was Ali B, yeah.
Yeah, and yourself through yesterday, and I was busy doing other things, but he phoned me first thing this morning and showed it to me and explained that the boat is about 17 miles away, which is great, you know, it's a flat earth proof, wonderful. However, there's a particular part of the image that seems to defy all ball logic, and Anthony's waving his mouse around it now. I'm going to do the same just to make it absolutely clear what we're talking about. So this. Now, I'm pretty sure everyone will figure out reasonably quickly what this is, bearing in mind that you've got this behind it. And sorry to do this to you, Anthony, if you can just go back to your picture again, the first one. Sorry to get you switching between these constantly. Here we go. So, you may not be able to see it. If you can move just click hide on that little tab. And then maybe zoom out so you can see more of the frame of the picture. Because it's got in the top left-hand corner. Ah, there we go. There's our light source. Right.
And you can see, look at the lines, the buckle that's coming off the sun. Just there.
Yeah, so that's where the sun is. You know, it's pointing in that direction. So again, if you can go back to the picture of the boat. So this is a shadow of the boat. Now, I'm not going to do it on this particular hangout. I'm going to put together a little video with various different screenshots that Ranty sent me of this, along with his location and the GPS for the boat and the travelling distance, etc, etc. I'll put it all together, and it'll be a 60-second clip for people to look through exactly what Ranty showed me this morning and showed Anthony and Ali B and Issa yesterday. So this boat is beyond the horizon. There is no two ways about that. Ranty's tied it down very, very well. And it's got a shadow. So, in essence, we have a ball earth argument that says this ship, which is definitely, when you do the curve maths on it, hidden. You know, it's beyond the curve, it's gone, you can't see it. Considerably so, actually. However, according to ball earth maths, this ship, this boat, can be refracted, i.e. the light can go through an infinite number of layers, changing its angle over and over and over and over again, conforming to the sphere of the earth to bring it back up to your line of sight so that you can see it. That's what the light is doing. Now, my understanding of what a shadow is that it's the absence of light. Now, what's actually happening is the dirty air, or the obstruction formerly known as curvature. Essentially, the atmosphere is what this shadow is being projected onto. And you can see the turbine is literally obscured or slightly blue in tint, whatever you want to call it, because it's at some distance. But you've got the shadow actually in front of it, you know, on the atmosphere, in front of the wind farm. But yeah, like I say, this shadow carries on through the image. But according to ball earth maths, the shadow, the absence of light, must be refracted also? Well, that's kind of why we're putting this out there. We'd like some kind of explanation for why we have a shadow refracted from beyond the curve.
Cast on?
Say again?
What's it being cast on? Why is there a shadow that is not on a screen? A shadow's got to be cast onto something.
It's projecting itself onto the atmosphere, isn't it?
The atmosphere is not it's not tangible, Nathan.
Well, you can certainly get shadows on it. The evidence is there. It's, you know, unless you want to deny the evidence of your own eyes, that is what's occurring.
This is one of 3 or 4 photos that you took of this boat in similar locations as it's passing in front of these turbines. And it's not a freak on one photo, it's on 3 or 4 of them. And it's like, for me, it's like, why is it in front of the turbine? Why is it even being cast? And what's the explanation by science for this? Because I've never ever seen this before, and we were arguing over whether what this could be, but it's not in one photo; it's in several, and it's clearly that it's clearly the shadow of the bridge part of the ship, but it's from the angle of the sun, which is like over this way somewhere. So we're not getting the same angle that the sun is seeing. The sun's seeing it side on almost, and that's what you're seeing there. But look how below it is. Look at the line that the shadow's taking. I mean, 93 million mile sun or close sun. That's the other issue. But what's the science? Why are we getting a shadow being cast onto seemingly nothing? And what is the explanation for this?
I mean, we've put this forward. It's on a debate show because we want to debate about it, but I'm going to make some assertions. This debunks terrestrial refraction on a globe.
Yep. I'll make an assertion. There's no science to explain this on the current model. I'll make another assertion. No baller can explain it with any science. We'll have to get into some kind of non-standard science for this one. Lono says he doesn't see any shadow.
I don't think there's no non-standard refraction hyena to the rescue with this one, as far as I can tell. You know, unless you're going to claim that the absence of light, you know, the shadow proportionately to it, obviously with the sun above it and casting it down as you would expect, that is also being refracted in perfect proportion. The absence of light with something behind it, the turbine, at a different distance to whatever atmosphere it's projected onto. There's too much to get around in this, if you ask me. I mean, we might be quickly debunked and found to be incorrect, but I'm going to say it, man. This seems to debunk terrestrial refraction on a globe.
I agree. You can't have bendy light. Like, if this boat is as far away as what we're told it was, what was it, 16, 17 miles?
I think he said it was 17.1 miles. I can't remember the exact numbers. I'll look it up in a sec.
But it's gone behind the curve of the Earth by some way, which would mean that this, in the ball Earth, based on the nonsense that we've had recently, this whole ship must be loomed up from behind the curve, along with the most part of the turbines. But the shadow, how is that subject to looming? Because the shadow shouldn't be part of looming, right? You can't loom. You can't create a shadow of a mirage.
You can't create a shadow of mirage. That's a brilliant one.
Yeah.
Is the lensing going on here? I mean, is the boat that big, or is it elongated?
No, it's going on an angle towards the turbine. It's just the angle that he's got it on. When Ranty's alive, because he's under thumb, big style Ranty, he's not allowed on the computer when his missus is in town. That's why he goes disappearing for days and he falls behind in the conversation. But next time he's allowed to play, then he'll show you the other pictures and he'll show you what the boat looks like.
And are the turbines in front of the boat or further on than the boat? Do we know?
The boat is the nearest thing to us, then the turbines are behind it. But they're close. The boat's passing in front of the turbines by maybe a mile or so. He has the exact position that the boat is in at the time of the photo and the route it was on.
And is that in the public domain? You can tell. Where, yeah, right, okay.
The boat's called the Bainmar Sherry. He's got it on the GPS tracker thing, the boat tracking thing. It tells him where the boat was, what route it was taking, where it was going from, where it was going to, and at the time of the photograph, where it actually was.
Yeah.
It's definitely an interesting observation because I agree with Nathan. The science for this doesn't really exist. Are you okay? Yeah, she's okay. Coughed up a fur ball.
I mean, it's not the nearest thing. The nearest thing is, you know, the beach itself, then the pier, then there's a buoy then there's the boat, then there's the wind farms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, in the picture, it's the closest thing to us in the picture.
Yeah, in that frame, yeah.
But that boat's supposed to be that far behind the curve of the Earth, you couldn't even see it. That's the first thing. Secondly, like, you can't have a shadow casting off a projection. That indicates that we're looking at the real boat.
And is the shadow going onto like the fog and the mist?
I have no idea.
Well,
But
this
the
frame
shadow
is,
is casting.
So on this particular frame, the shadow
Yeah.
is obscuring the wind farm.
Yes, yeah.
Whereas in other frames, its relative position stays about the same. It just traverses the image. So if I was to bring up the next frame, which I haven't sent to Anthony, so this will, as I say, be put together in a little 60-second video.
So we've got the boat moving and the shadow moves with it.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's the same.
Correct. Oh,
wherever it is.
Yeah, it's being cast onto something, and there's nothing there for it to cast onto, as far as I can tell.
So that nobody can say that's just a bit of rock sticking out. It actually follows the boat.
Yeah, and they can't say it's something being towed by the boat either, because the boat's not towing anything.
Okay.
So any of the ballers that can explain this on the current science, please get in touch.
Give them 48 hours. We'll get some.
Nah, they'll drop it. They won't touch it. None of them will touch it. Let's see who's in chat. Okay, won't be able to do it. What about... See if there's anybody that's got any research skills. Tim Osman, you can look up this for us. You can tell us what the science is for this, you idiot. Tell us what the science is for how a shadow can cast onto nothing.
I've just sent you another one so you can see it when it's in a different position. I'll bring up that, Anthony, if you would. On Skype. Eleanor, can you get off the table, please? Come on, get down, please.
It's eerie, isn't it?
There you go. Can you see that, Mark?
I can, yeah.
And if you were to draw the lines, like, basically, it looks like it's coming off from the... It's coming from the sun. It's a shadow. But it doesn't really make any sense, because you have to cast a shadow onto something. Can't cast a shadow onto nothing. And obviously, a loomed-up mirage can't cast a shadow. So what are we looking at here? Obviously, the boat's meant to have gone behind the curve of the Earth. Oh, but there's a little bit of obstruction at the bottom. Well, actually, it's just compression. It looks like obstruction, but it looks to me like it's compressing. It's going through that band of refraction that we often see, the vanishing point or whatever. The same thing that the turbines go through periodically. But essentially, it's not dropping behind no curve, because it would already have done so at this distance. But also, there's a shadow there, and that shadow needs to be explained.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So anybody...
Excellent.
So we're looking forward to a response video from Tim Osman. All the evidence that Tim Osman can find at his fingertips.
Have we got long to go, Nathan?
About 15 minutes left. I'd normally do links, keeping people up to date, but I've not. This particular part of the Hangout's not public anymore, so. So I've sent you one more, just like a wide shot with a boy in the foreground.
Oh, we're even getting the antenna mast of the boat. Wow, that's incredible.
It is. I don't... my view on it is there is no science currently that can tell us about how a shadow can be cast onto nothing. That in itself is an issue.
Yeah, nobody's going to argue that, but it's what could it be?
Can you just make the last one I sent you just as big as possible, just because it has a boy in the foreground?
That is as big as possible. Oh, you mean zoom it out?
Yeah, just make it full screen just once. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'll stop screen sharing you now, but I think all of them have made it on screen now. So there's been, I can't remember, 3 or 4 different images that Ranty's got from that video. He also had some, I think one of them was just from a still. I can't remember. Either way.
Gentlemen, I have to go, gentlemen. I'll talk to you probably tomorrow.
Cool.
Thank you, gentlemen. Bye-bye.
Lovely having you, Mark.
Bye-bye.
See you later, Mark.
Is it worth me risking putting the link out one last time?
Why not?
Hang on. How long's left? 10 minutes? 15 minutes?
10 minutes.
Can we not do something interesting? Why don't you get a Chris MCM in and then just sort it out like adults? Whatever the issue is, just sort it out and say, right, you're either friends or you're not friends, and just get it dealt with.
Simple. The issue, if you want to know, is that Chris in the chat said that he wanted to shut the show down while there was a concerted effort going on to boycott my show. At which point I thought, right, if you want this show shut down, presumably you don't want it to exist, then sod off and don't come back. Don't come grovelling either, because I will ignore you. Don't like the show? Don't watch. If you do like the show, participate, join, try and offer something. Yeah? You don't offer anything, Chris. You offer literally nothing. So nobody will miss you. Nobody gives two shits that you're not here.
I was going to ask, is it worth giving the man some redemption? But I think that then the question is, well, can he be trusted? And I don't have a problem with Chris. I think he's reasonable. He can be a jerk at times, but so can everybody. But could he be trusted with the link to come in and stuff? And that's the bit where you have to be careful, because the company that he keeps is terrible. So it's ultimately, for me, it's one of them things that I kind of feel for him in one way, but realise that there's not a lot I can do about it.
But what does he offer? Pink paletta? Funny voices? He literally offers nothing to the actual debate.
But how many bowlers do offer anything to the debate, though?
Well, a number. You know, there are a number of people that I thank profusely for them coming on. You know, Ruhif takes a lot of crap from us, but he ultimately is a worthy adversary.
Well, doesn't bring it. I've not seen Ruhif bring any evidence at all.
No, but the fact that he doesn't means that we can debate that point. You know, when he says, look, Anthony, can you just concede for the sake of the argument that the Earth is a ball and that light bends around it? Because it makes me much, much easier for me to convince you that the Earth is a ball if you accept that it's a ball and that light's bending around it. Can you just concede this point? You know,
but
if we point that out to the audience and laugh at him. Debate. You know, it's like if people take circular reasoning as their standpoint, fine. But I'm going to be the one pointing it out and holding their toes to the fire. You can concede it all you like. But for me, the second you concede that the Earth is a ball and light's bending around it, you've conceded that the Earth is a ball and light's bending around it. From that point on, he's already presupposed his outcome in his argument. So what's the point in debating anymore? It's just a cheap debating tactic. But the fact that he uses it means we can point out to them, the audience that is, again and again and again, these people have no evidence. They're not evidencing terrestrial refraction. They are asserting it. They even ask you politely if you'll concede it for the sake of argument. It's like, in essence, they're saying, I've got a presupposition and I accept it as true with no evidence. Now, can you accept it also, please, so I can make my point and win? Oh, well done. What a wonderful debating standpoint.
Yeah, but if we don't accept their point with no evidence, then there is no debate, though.
Well, no, they need to go and get some evidence. Like, you go out and Ranty goes out and lots of other people go out and acquire evidence. They come in and challenge our evidence and then assert that the Earth is a ball and light bends around it. Can you accept that for the sake of argument, please? It's like you guys on the ball side have nothing, literally nothing to offer other than to come and try and debunk what we offer and show. That's what you have. All you can do is debunk us. You are completely and utterly reactive.
And useless.
Yeah, be proactive. I couldn't agree with Arwin yesterday more when he was like, go out and do something. Go out and actually try and achieve something. Go and gather some evidence.
Stop trolling. Stop wasting your time. You're wasting your time trolling, declaring victory and celebrating your self-declared victory. Instead, actually work out how it is supposed to work on your theoretical ball. Instead of falling back to that the supposed curvature is that slant of the refraction zone that we can prove is the refraction zone, because it migrates as the optics migrate, as the perceiver migrates, as footage has been proving. So migrate, move on to find your theoretical curvature somewhere, because it's not there. So it's not there in that refraction zone. So stop trying to force that through. It's not working.
And with that, I think on this very leisurely note, I might end the show a little bit early and say a massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible, and also a massive thank you, of course, to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you've not done so already, be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.